Hey guys, how you doing? Robert Chambers here from NETmusic.com, teaching you how to master the art of playing the piano by ear in 1 year, and I will be one step closer once you understand all the principles of the Any Key Music system. Hope you guys are doing great, Any Key Music members, and I look forward to answering all of your questions tonight. Now, that song I just had to play because there's a lovely young lady by the name of Sandy Truax, and on the webinar, she always from a couple webinars ago, she said, okay, Robert, can you play Build Me Up Buttercup? And I'm like, I've never heard that song. So I finally had a chance to listen to that song. And obviously it's back in the 1960s, 70s, that type of style. Yeah, I got a chance to listen to it and hear all the Any Key Music principles. I'm like, oh yeah, progressions with melodies. Oh yeah, there's a little bit of a hoops as well as a type of approach. And there's some of your secondary / chords. So I just like to analyze every single song in the book, because when you analyze, or when you can actually understand the language, when you're listening, you listen differently. So you not only appreciate the music just like everybody else, but you appreciate it on a different level. So you're just more like, I like how they use that. I like how they use this particular device. All right, so I hope you guys can hear me okay. And if you couldn't hear me okay, then you would have been able to say that. So, all right, Alfonso, all the way from India. Wow. Hello, Robert. Alfonso from India. It is Monday, 6:30 a.m. Wow. Well, good morning. Good morning. It's 9:00 p.m. here, Alfonso. So good morning to you. Thanks for tuning on. Alfonso, it's great to have you. All right, Irel, Robert, you're in. All right. Irel, it's great to have you. All right. I look forward to celebrating on the Wall of Achievers. You're going to see that. All right. Who else do we have there? We have somebody else that said, hi, Robert, but I don't see their name, and some others and so forth. All right. But I just want to say welcome, guys. Welcome to all of you. And as you know, I have these sessions so that I can actually get some live questions, some questions you may encounter as you go through the system and so forth. And I hear it's here. Look at this. It's 11 a.m. in Melbourne, Australia. Wow, all the way in the morning. All right, welcome in, Australia. All right, okay, all right. Isaiah here and ready to listen and learn. Exactly. All right, I know I got your questions there. Deborah Cummings. All right, Deborah, how you doing? Hope you're doing great. All right, we got Todd. All right, Todd, you're in. All right, welcome in. All right, so one thing I do want to say before we, we have actually begun already. All right. All right, Joel, okay, great to have you, Joel, Australia. All right, I just want to say welcome to all of you new Any Key Music members as well. I have these, like I said, these sessions where you can, it's like a type of a pit stop. All right, Marcia from California. Hi, Marcia, how you doing? All right, so I have these sessions so that I can help you, just a certain question that you may be able to ask me, that I can just kind of help give you that little extra push as you go through your Any Key Music journey. Those of you that I know you're at different levels, all right? And we have, all right, Sandra in Florida. How you doing, Sandra? Welcome in. All right, we got a full house today. All right, so as you guys are thinking, I do, this, like I said, this session is just to help you to answer your questions. I have few questions that were submitted from before, so I'm going to get to those right away as well. But once again, like I wanted to say, for all you new members, welcome to the Any Key Music system. So I just want to let you know that some things that I'm going to cover today may be at an intermediate towards advanced level, or some things may be at a beginner level. So whatever it's at, just know that it's gonna apply to you at some part in your Any Key Music journey. So for example, if you're just getting started, some of the terminology that we use, you may not know what they are, but guaranteed, 6 months, 8 months, a year from now, whatever, you'll know exactly what we are saying. All right, so just hang tight. And for those of you that are more experienced in the Any Key Music system, just know that sometimes we're going to get some questions that may be at a little bit easier level. Just celebrate with all of those, because we know that once they go through the system, and once they start learning the Any Key Music principles, completing all the exercises, they're going to have the same knowledge, understanding, and ability to do exactly what you guys are doing. Okay, all right, so let's get to some of the questions that were actually submitted before. So Alfonso, all the way from India, and he's tuning in all the way to 6:30 there. He actually sent some questions in, and and I'm going to actually get to them right away, and it's going to help those that that are in volume 2 that are just getting started. So Alfonso asked, I am on CD1 of volume 2. Okay, so what I like to do, as you guys know, I like to put it up so I can remember what the question is. So he's at CD1, or let's put it like this, volume 2, CD1. Okay, so I'm on CD1 of volume 2. How much important it is to understand the scale intervals. So how important is it to understand the scale intervals to play piano by ear? So to get to our piano by ear, let's put piano ear goal. Okay. And then when should I start to learn the sounds of the scale intervals? When scale intervals. And once again, guys, this is not an English penmanship class. Okay. If it was, I may not pass. But we are talking about music, okay? So don't laugh at my writing, okay? So once again, so the first question was, how important is it to understand the scale intervals to be able to play by ear, okay? So in terms of the scale intervals, all right, we are actually talking about, obviously, the numbers, okay? So let me put it like this. So if we're in the key of C, C is the easiest key to see, obviously, in purpose. And once again, guys, there's a second camera, so I will be able to, do this. You may not see it here, but you will see it on the replay in terms of the second shot. All right, so in terms of scale intervals, so if we have the key of C, the C major scale, we know that eventually it's C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. And if we put numbers to those, right, we know that we have, let me just put another different marker here. We have 1, right, 2, and I should put it in Roman numerals, but I'll just put it in regular numbers. So a little bit faster. Okay, so we have the 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully you can see that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So how important is it to memorize the scale intervals? Now let me just clarify in terms of exactly. All right, and I see Willie from North Carolina. Hey Willie, how you doing? All right, welcome in. Okay, great. I always like to see the shadow. It's okay. So let's get here. Okay, so in terms of the scale intervals, now we have the scale degrees, right? Now, some of the popular methods to learn by ear out there in the world, all right, they'll say memorize intervals. Let me put it like this, okay? Very good question. They'll say memorize intervals. So for between the 1, they'll call it the perfect 1 or perfect unison. All right, I can say perfect unison. Then they'll say between the C and the D, they'll call that the major second. Let me just do this. Some of you know this, but don't worry about it. All right, major second between the C and the E, let's say the 1 and the 3, they call that the major third. All right, major third. All right, then they have the perfect fourth. I'll put P4. Then they have the perfect fifth. Then they have the major 6. And then they have the major 7. So they'll have these intervals. Now also there's tritone in there, all that kind of stuff. Now they'll teach to basically try to memorize, okay, that when you go, that's like a major second, or they'll say that's do and mi, sometimes when they use that solfege system. Now that is okay. However, in a real setting, in a real practical setting, this is not practical, all right? So for example, this is like trying to memorize so when you hear the word scale intervals, it's like to process S-C-A-L-E, even if you know how to spell it. It's a lot to process if you try to think of every letter followed by every letter. It's a lot easier to understand when it's just said scale intervals. So you interpret the language rather than every single letter of how it's spelled. This is like in trying to interpret every single letter. So we don't necessarily do this, okay? This becomes a byproduct of this. And what do I mean by this? That becomes a byproduct of when you master all of this. Okay, sorry, 1 second. This red seems to be faint. That's better. There we go. So when you master all the sounds of these numbers, right? When you master this, this is a byproduct. Okay, so basically, right, so when you can hear all these numbers, like I said, that's the byproduct. So in terms of when you want to start memorizing these numbers or the numbers on what they sound like, you do not do that until volume 3, okay? So I'm not going to ask for you to identify the sounds of these until volume 3. Specifically, I don't even ask for you to identify the sounds of these until you get to volume 3, CD 4. Okay, so I make sure we go to volume 1, we figure out our foundation. Volume 2, we can play in every key. Then I start, and once we can do all those things, once you can do this in every single key, I can start bringing more attention to what you're hearing and what you're understanding, okay? So not until volume 3 that you don't have to worry about this, okay, in terms of the sound of that. That will come as a natural byproduct. And that's the thing with the course. It's going to come as a natural byproduct of just mastering numbers. You automatically know the sound. The most important thing is not the sound, because everybody can identify a great musical piece or something that's good music. They just don't know how to identify what they're hearing. So my focus is just for you to be able to play what you're hearing and understand what you're hearing, because when you do those things, as a natural byproduct, you will be able to hear the numbers, okay? So great question. All right, the next one is, when should I start to learn? And I'd answer that. Okay, so then we have, how do you retain, or how to retain the sounds of the 1, 4, and 5. 1, 4, and 5 chords in all the 12 major scales. And once again, to retain the sound is just, well, I'm going to be kind of biased. I'm going to say you got to complete volume 1 and volume 2 and then get to volume 3, because it's only then when we start to really start identifying all the sounds that we do. I don't want to put extra pressure on you when you're just getting comfortable with this actual skill. But if you just picture, let's say this was song number 2 in volume 1, which was this song. All right, so we know that we have the C, E, F, G, right? What is C, E, F, G? It's 1, 3, 4, 5. So we know that, let's say if we put words to that, it's "Oh, when the saints." All right, so let me just see my screen here. That's a very good question. Okay, so then if we had "Oh, when," I'll just put W, "Oh, when the saints." Let's say if we had that, "Oh, when the saints." Now, the thing is, that's why it's important to play in every key. That's going to sound the same, and it's going to sound the same everywhere. So what are we saying? So when we hear "Oh, when the saints," we know that "Oh, the saints" is always 1, 4, 5. So that sound you do recognize, because I can play it in every single key, and you'll say, yeah, that sounds like the song. Well, we just have to do a lot of exercises for you to identify that that's simply the 1, 3, or 5. So once again, it's a byproduct. Great question, Alfonso. Okay, and he says, I listen daily to a few hymns and local language film songs, mainly for pleasure. I want to know how to focus my attention to the melody and contour chords and rhythm in hymns and songs. Okay, you want to know how to focus your attention. Okay, so the most important thing to be able to focus on, let's say, I want to know how to focus my attention on the melody. Right, the most important thing to get focused on the melody is just to listen to it, okay? So for me, before I attempt the song, so let's say this is the song, let's say this is the goal, I want to be able to do this. What I do personally, I do the first, when you get to volume 2, obviously we get to towards the ending, we go over the 6 principles of playing by ear. I use that first principle, which is I listen to it over and over again until it's in my head, right? If I don't have the song in my head, right, then I won't be able to produce it by ear. So the best way to get the songs in your mind so that you can focus on the melody is just to keep on listening to it. I know it may sound kind of simple, but that's really how much pressure you should put on it, all right? Just listen to the song over and over again, because you'll know. Because if I was to have to play this, what if I played it like this? Right? That's not the song. So therefore, I've listened to it enough to know that that's incorrect. So that's the same thing with every song. Just listen to it and get it in your head, and you should be fine. And once you learn more of the language, especially in volume 3, by the time you're at CD 4, you know how to, you're playing in every key, you're playing by ear, and then you've also figured out how to put chords to everything. So therefore, when you're listening to the song, you're not only hearing melodies, but you're hearing the chords and understanding the chords, all right? Great question, Alfonso, all the way from India, all right? Great question. Okay, so let's move to the next question. Okay, so the next person that had their question was a long one here from Isaiah. Okay, so let me clear this up. All right, this is going to be at the intermediate to advanced level. So once again, like I gave that disclaimer at the beginning, If you don't necessarily understand everything at the beginning, no worries, no problems. You will understand what's happening later. Okay. So basically, Isaiah said, okay, I was signed up for the officer. Okay, give me a way. Okay, let me just decipher through some of this. I'd like to hear a nice. Okay. So anyway, a question I would like to bring up is this. Prepare for a long question with no concrete direction. Laugh out loud. As the foundation of my music understanding solidifies daily through simple AKMS foundation principles, I find myself classifying chords as I learn them by ear. I would hear a nice chord and play it by ear, then ask myself, what is this and how do I use it? And by the way, Isaiah, that's exactly what you need to ask. First of all, what is this chord? So when you hear a chord, right, when you hear a chord, you have to ask, what is it? And so yeah, definitely what, and, or let me put it right here, how actually is it used? All right, let's say used, and we're gonna be able to go through some of those, okay? So how do you use it myself? So I find myself just thinking, is this major, minor, 13th, diminished, augmented? Really, I'm just thinking it is a diminished or augmented. And I know to use these as hoots and approaches, so it seems we use certain chord classes in different ways. I think I know the answer, but are there any other type of chord classes? Like for example, I heard someone play this chord, spelled out from left to right on the keys. And the chord was left to right, E, B flat, B, D, A flat. Okay, and then I'm going to send you another little clip of how I heard it used. Now, once again, Isaiah actually sent me a video clip of him playing these actual things. So he's actually using his ear to figure out things he doesn't even understand. And I'm like, that's exactly what I want to hear, because that's exactly what I did. I use my principles of playing by ear to figure out things and then ask myself, why does it work after? Okay? So you can send me a clip. So I see that it's used as diminished, but it's like a diminished secondary slash chord thing going on. I'm not sure what I'm really asking. I'll laugh aloud. Maybe where to go from here, or maybe just elaborate a bit in the subject so we can pick some more nuggets from you. Seems like it's so many hoot options. Thanks, Robert. Exactly. And then he actually sent me just a list of chords that I can explain. So let me see if I can get to some of them here. So let me get to this first one. So from left to right, we had an E, we had a B flat, we had a B, we had a D, and then we had an A flat. So